Hello, we are Middlepoint. We specialize in recruitment for the international yacht building, shipbuilding, offshore, hydraulic engineering and maritime industries. From the first day since our start in 2007, we focus strongly on connecting the right people with the right organizations at the right time. Much like an engineer would, we use knowledge, experience and powerful tools to create these connections. That's why we've come to identify ourselves as recruitment engineers, helping you build your career. And yet, we understand, perhaps better than most, that a career is very personal. Rather than a rigid construction, a career is an ongoing story which differs from person to person. That's why our approach is, above all, very personal as well. We'd like to introduce you to 4 people whose careers we help to develop. We'll tell you, ever so briefly, their unique stories. But just how helpful we have been, they will tell you that themselves. Matthew Breu is a naval architect who had moved from Canada to Monaco and was working in the yacht industry when something happened that made him think twice about his new hometown.
My oldest daughter she's 4. And it was one morning I was walking her to school, and she said, "Oh, look, Daddy." She said, she said, "I really like that car." She was pointing at a Lamborghini. I said, "What do you like about it?" She said, "Oh, it's just the right size for me." And then I thought, oh my God, I'm in trouble because when she turns 16, that's what she's going to want to drive.
It wasn't long after that Matthew ran into Middlepoint.
They said they had some possibilities for people with my background and experience in the Netherlands. They asked if I was interested. I said, well, we're considering moving away from Monaco, so yeah, the timing is good.
Now, there are very few Lamborghinis on the streets of the Dutch harbour town Vlissingen, but it is home to world-famous yacht builder Armels, and they just happen to be looking for a project leader engineering on a brand new build. But being from outside the EU, Matthew couldn't just move and start. There'd be an immigration procedure, and those things can get pretty complicated.
As Matthew was married in Cuba, and he and his wife and children born in different places in Canada, but at that moment living in Monaco, we had to actually be in contact with the Canadian government, the Dutch embassy in Canada and Cuban authorities to get all the papers.
But luckily, Middlepoint is always able to pull a few strings, and within 6 weeks, Matthew could make the move from Monaco to Vlissingen.
Yeah, we really appreciated their services and efforts, because if it would have just been me and my wife to do all that paperwork and process, we probably would have just given up.
Iulia Scutaru is a young, ambitious structural engineer hailing from Romania. After attaining her PhD, Iulia was eager to start her career and did so with a decidedly international perspective.
I decided to apply for jobs in UK, Netherlands, France and maybe Germany.
Middlepoint knew it had the opportunities to match Iulia's ambitions.
They offer me 3 different types of jobs in 3 different companies, and I decided to go to the Falk.
So Iulia's career was off to a good start, but as most of us know, life is what happens in between making plans. 3 months in, and to her own surprise, she found out she was pregnant.
By the time she was having the baby, this would be the moment that this project would be happening.
And when I called the Middlepoint guys, they told me, okay, it's not a problem, we need to find another solution for you.
We found that at Ulstein CF Solutions, they just happened to be in a project where they could use an extra hand, and that was Iulia.
Let's say it took only 2 weeks, and Monday I had an interview here with them, and the next day I start to work here. So it was a difficult period, but also a very nice one.
And this is Peter Dofferhoff. Just 5 years after graduating from the Maritime Academy at the young age of 20, Peter had already made it to chief engineer when Middlepoint came across his resume. We knew he'd be perfect for a job he'd never even heard of. Regulatory Compliancy Officer at Bluewater.
Ik had zelf nooit van die baan gehoord. Het is in de scheepvaart ook geen bekende rol.
But once we started explaining to him, he was like, yes, that's the one I need and that I want.
Given Peter's hands-on experience with the sort of ships Bluewater turns into FPSOs, Peter was clearly the right guy for the job. But Peter and his girlfriend had only just bought a new house, a good 200 kilometers away from his new job, and they were understandably not very keen on relocating.
Maar de reistijd, nou, als het 5-6 uur per dag zou worden om heen en weer te reizen, ja, dat is voor mij gewoon te veel.
Luckily, Middlepoint had a solution that would prove to be both practical and pleasant.
We hebben toen net in Haarlem, net een paar kilometer verderop, hebben ze een heel leuk huisje kunnen vinden, dicht bij het centrum.
Where he can live during the week in Haarlem, and the weekend he goes home.
And when the housing situation prevented Peter from signing with Blue Water directly for a permanent position, Middlepoint took responsibility once again.
The current situation is that Peter has a permanent contract with us, and this housing solution is in place, and Blue Water is happy, and Peter is happy. So that's fine.
This is Nuno Santos. As the chief executive of a Portuguese shipyard, 49-year-old Nuno had built and sold quite a number of ships. In theory, this would make him perfect for the vacancy of proposals manager at IHC. In practice, however, they would take some convincing.
Because our client was adamant, he wanted a Dutch person. We had spoken to all Dutch candidates, nobody was open to make the move. So I actually had to convince our client first that we're not going to find a Dutch guy. You have to be open for a foreign candidate.
And considering that the South American market is becoming increasingly important for the client, this particular foreign candidate actually had some serious advantages.
Olá, o meu nome é Nuno Santos, sou da Figueira da Foz, em Portugal, e também hablo poquito de espanhol.
Unlike most Dutch candidates, Nuno speaks both Portuguese and Spanish. So we decided to contact Nuno.
I wanted to grow, and I did not see much space for that where I was. And here I saw the opportunity to develop my skills and my career.
Nuno was introduced to IHC and things clicked immediately. Perhaps even a little too well, because after just 6 months on the job, IHC offered Nuno a very serious promotion: sales manager for the South American market. And as a consequence, they also asked Nuno to sign with them directly on a permanent contract, which meant Nuno would be leaving us 6 months earlier than planned. But even though we were sad to see Nuno leave, we were glad to see him be as happy on the shores of the North Sea as he had been on the shores of the Atlantic.
Now my family is here in Holland. That's proof enough that I'm enjoying the country and the work and the company, and everything is working out fine for now. I'm happy.
4 people, 4 careers. If your career is in yacht building, shipbuilding, offshore, hydraulic engineering or maritime industries, whether you are single or have a family, whether you are junior or senior, and whether you're from the EU or abroad, Middlepoint can help you advance. So join these 4 and the hundreds of others who've gone before. Contact us through LinkedIn, our website, or simply give us a call. And let Middlepoint be your recruitment engineers.